Right friends, welcome back to newspaper editorial discussion. As usual, the first part is news for a while, and here look at the first news item: law coming to enforce dam safety regulations. Here I am taking you back to this real estate regulatory authorities. Last year the central government notified with regard to Real Estate Development Authority. So, as per that, by May 1, if I am not wrong, May 1 2017, all the states have to establish real estate regulatory authorities in respective states, and on similar lines, to ensure dam safety, there is a news item that government is coming up with this dam safety regulations, and this assumed significance. If you look at the 3-4 aspects as per this news item, in the year 1979, this Machu dam failure in Gujarat resulted in around 25,000 deaths. And the second important aspect is the release of water from Chambarambakkam reservoir into Adayar river caused havoc in Chennai in 2015. If you go back to 2014, at that time the release of water from Larchi hydroelectric project into Bias river resulted in 25 students' death. They are from Hyderabad. And if you look at the dispute between Kerala and Tamil Nadu with regard to the safety of Mullaperiyar dam, this regulatory authority or these regulations which the government is going to notify shortly assumed a lot of significance. So, in future the country will have this dam safety regulations which is very much required, right. India coffers opened for political parties. Here if you look at various aspects, yesterday finance bill was passed by Lok Sabha. Few important aspects are there, and there was one dispute is also there. Several amendments as well as several clauses were incorporated in the finance bill. The opposition says this was done only to circumvent Rajya Sabha, and all of you are well aware finance bill is a money bill and Rajya Sabha literally has got no power. So, to circumvent Rajya Sabha, several amendments or several issues are clubbed with the finance bill so as to circumvent Rajya Sabha. That was the contention of opposition, and the government says that they are incidental to finance bill. So, therefore, they should be incorporated in finance bill. So, now 2-3 important aspects. Now, several tribunals are merged. That is one important decision. The next one is Aadhaar is mandatory for income tax and PAN. So, here Aadhaar is mandatory from July 1 for filing income tax returns. The government's contention is at present people are having 5 PAN cards, 4 PAN cards. Now, once that is integrated with Aadhaar, then this problem will be over. And third important decision is now the cash transaction limit is 2 lakhs for any single purchase. The cash transaction limit is 2 lakhs. It was reduced from rupees 3 lakh. So, these are the important changes which were incorporated in the finance bill. Then PAN Aadhaar link, just now I told you, Jaitley strongly defends this linking PAN number and Aadhaar number so as to eliminate multiple PAN numbers used by several people. So, the country has got around 108 crore Aadhaar cards, and now with the linking of Aadhaar with the PAN, duplication will be eliminated, and here if anyone is intending to do fraud, he will also be caught hold of, right. So, the biggest issue with regard to Aadhaar is with regard to privacy and safety of data, right. Then the next one is Bankruptcy Board spells out eligibility. This is the news item from finance pages of the Hindu. All of you must have clear idea about what is meant by this insolvency and bankruptcy code. In the year 2016, this insolvency and bankruptcy code came into force. And here, what is the difference between insolvency and bankruptcy? The basic problem is, if a company goes into debt trap, if a company is not able to come out of problems, then resolution is taking number of years in our country. So, the resolution of the indebtedness of firms is taking huge time in our country. That is the biggest problem. So, to come out of that, to improve ease of doing business index in the country, government came up with Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016. Insolvency means it is the state of being unable to pay the money. If I borrowed 1 lakh rupees from you, if I am not able to pay you back, that is the condition of insolvency, and insolvency can come both for individuals and companies. What is the difference between insolvency and bankruptcy? When you are going towards insolvency, when it is certified legally, or you can say bankruptcy is the legal status of a person or company. So, if it is legal status, it is bankruptcy. So, this is insolvency and bankruptcy. So, the firms which are going into the debt trap, which are not able to come out of that, they can come out within the short period of, I think, 270 days maximum period given for resolving the issues of indebtedness. So, this is basically Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, and according to this code, this Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India was established, IBBI, and it will create the framework for insolvency professionals. Right. So, you should have clear idea about this Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. So, here Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, a quasi judicial body, was already set up. Right. So, salient features I have given. So, if someone would like to go through, this PPT will be available, please go through, and how it helps the creditors. Basically, that within the shortest possible time, this will be resolved. Remaining things I have given here. The next news item is 8 tribunals face acts amid downsizing. This 8 tribunals are going away. This is one important news item. So, there may be a question. Critically comment on the functioning of tribunals in our country. This tribunals, this is as per constitution, probably article 323 if I am not wrong, 323A, that is administrative tribunals, 323B other tribunals, and these tribunals are intended to solve the disputes. If I am travelling by train, I have some dispute with Indian Railways, so I will approach the tribunal. So, similarly several tribunals exist in our country, but the functioning of most of the tribunals is not up to the mark. Now, 8 tribunals are going away through the amendments to finance bill. I think 8 tribunals are going away, and here a question can come, critically comment on the functioning of tribunals, and we will discuss about that in the news analysis as and when some analysis part appears in the newspapers. So, please understand, these tribunals are constitutional bodies. That means tribunals can be established by the state legislatures and parliament, and one constitutional provision of 323 article facilitates that. Right? Please look into this article. As far as I recollect, that is probably 323 in the constitution. Next one is Cabinet's capital booster to NABARD. Here some decisions were taken. Authorized capital of NABARD is being increased from rupees 5,000 crore to rupees 30,000 crore. Authorized capital of NABARD is being increased from rupees 5,000 crore to rupees 30,000 crore. That is the one decision of cabinet. Then if you look at other decisions, this is RBI has got 0.4% equity in NABARD. RBI at present 0.4% ownership in NABARD. So, that 0.4% ownership will be given to the central government. So, to avoid conflict of interest, this decision was taken. And the third important decision is cabinet approved proposals with regard to fund of funds for startups, right. So, fund of funds for startups, this one term please understand, fund of funds for startups is, it is investments in some alternative investment funds directly. This fund, that means government do not invest in the startup. Government, please understand carefully, the meaning of fund of funds is government do not directly invest in startups, government will invest in the fund of funds, and after pooling up other funds from other investors also, that will be invested in the startup firms. Basically, this fund of funds for startups is to reduce the risk, because investments in startups is always have some risk, right. So, these are important cabinet decisions. Then there is one article in the Times of India editorial that Supreme Court has taken the decision to examine whether pensions and allowances like unlimited free train travel should be given to former MPs and MLAs. Former MPs, MLAs, irrespective of their duration of MP or MLA, they are having several unlimited, you can say several freebies they are enjoying, and now Supreme Court has taken the decision to examine into it. Then the next one is interest subsidy for home loans. Please recollect, the Prime Minister on 31st December announced that interest subsidy will be given on the home loans. This is CLSS, that is credit linked interest subsidy. So, please understand from preliminary examination perspective, this credit linked interest subsidy is given, 3% interest subsidy is given on home loans up to 9 lakhs of rupees. 4% will be given, please understand, 4% interest subsidy is given by the government up to home loans of 9 lakhs value, and 3% interest subsidy will be given on the home loans up to rupees 12 lakh value. Let me repeat once again, 4% interest subsidy up to 9 lakh home loans, 3% interest subsidy up to 12 lakhs of home loans, and because of which the equated monthly income will be reduced substantially. So, the point here is part of the interest on the home loans will be borne by the central government, just like the interest subvention scheme for agriculture sector. Government is giving interest subvention of 2% on agriculture crop loans, and similarly government is giving interest subsidy on exports also, which is known as interest equalization scheme. So, these things please do not forget, these are nothing but interest subsidy which is given by the center. Then if you look at the next one, scientists discover 5 new subatomic particles. Subatomic particles, these were found by the scientists of CERN, CERN, and here this CERN is world's biggest laboratory of particle physics. So, the scientists from CERN observed or found 5 subatomic particles. Here this experiment is one of the 7 particle physics detector experiments, and the data was collected at Large Hadron Collider Accelerator at CERN. So, CERN is the world's biggest laboratory of particle physics, and please do not forget, this is headquartered in Geneva. This is CERN, this is European Organization for Nuclear Research, this is headquartered in Geneva. And one important aspect with regard to CERN is India became associate member recently in CERN, right. So, India became associate member, and this Large Hadron Collider Accelerator, that is one important instrument as far as this CERN is concerned. And all of you are familiar with the protons, neutrons, and the experiments which are done at the particle physics laboratory is on subatomic particles. So, subatomic particles, please look into this. We have seen here protons and neutrons, and inside protons and neutrons, I am taking helium atom for example. Inside protons and neutrons, this quarks are there, and these are subatomic particles. So, quarks are the examples of subatomic particles. So, this atom at the same time electrons, protons, neutrons, all of us are familiar with. For example, I have taken this atom, and here this quarks, these are the subatomic particles inside neutrons and protons, and on the similar way now 5 subatomic particles were invented by the Large Hadron Collider at CERN, right. So, this discovery will contribute to understand how the 3 constituent quarks are bound inside a baryon. So, this is not that important. Please understand what is meant by subatomic particles and what was found. Look at the next recent issue, Asams ancient ink. In fact, these are the manuscripts, and these are written on this sansipat, or you can say bark of sansi tree. On bark of sansi tree, these manuscripts were written, and ancient herbal ink, Assam's medieval Assam's ancient herbal ink. And here there was news item in the Hindu a few days ago, and this is known as Mahi ink. And the basic advantage of this is it is resistant to aerial oxidation and fungal attacks. It is resistant, that particular ink. How it is made? It is made from cow urine as well as from pulp and bark of these trees, amla, mango, bibitaki, haritaki, from these trees, as well as blood from eel and catfish, bark and pulp from these trees along with cow urine. This was made, and the longevity of the ink shows that it is resistant to aerial oxidation and fungal attacks. So, this Mahi ink, please understand, it belongs to this medieval period, and here some folios were gifted by Kumar Bhaskar Burman, the then king of ancient Assam, to Harshavardhana, an emperor who ruled North India from 606 to 647, right. So, this is about Mahi ink. Let us leave this discussion here. Let us go to the analysis part now. First one is with regard to the Human Development Index, HDI. So, yesterday we discussed about India's rank. India's rank is 131. In comparison to last year, we slipped one rank, 130 to 131, and there is one more news item here. In fact, when you look at inequality adjusted HDI, we discussed about HDI yesterday. If you look at inequality adjusted HDI, if you consider inequality also into consideration, then our rank is just 0.454, our index is just 0.454. So, here it shows that inequality is quite high in our country. HDI index is 0.624, but when you consider it as inequality adjusted HDI, it is 0.454, right. So, yesterday certain things we deliberated, and Mahbubul Haq and Amartya Sen, yesterday we discussed, and important points also we discussed, and 3 important indices are there. One is this is health, education and income. Health, education and income, these 3 integrates into HDI. So, here as per this article, significant inequalities persist in our country. I am talking about today's editorial in the Hindu. Significant inequalities persist, and this is glaringly evident between states and regions, which act as major barrier to improvement. Then, if you look at the BRICS countries, the percentage of women in the workforce is the lowest in our country. And recently, please recollect one report of NSSO from 1999 to 2012. As per NSSO report, women's participation in the total workforce reduced from around 26% to 22%, from 25.9% to 21.9% to be precise. That means within 12-13 years, women's participation in the workforce reduced by 4%. And for the population that lives in severe multidimensional poverty, India is the worst in BRICS. So, multidimensional poverty means if you extend these issues further with various indicators, basic things are three only: education, health, income. So, for the quality of living, these three are the important aspects if you look at any country. So, if you further analyze them into 10 indicators, that is multidimensional poverty, and if you consider multidimensional poverty, India is the worst in BRICS. So, universalization of education and healthcare could have pulled up deprived sections out of the poverty trap. So, to discuss about this Human Development Index, why we are at 131, any article pertaining to education, any article pertaining to health, any article pertaining to income inequalities will fit into the theme, right. So, if anyone is asking about HDI, please make sure that the issues pertaining to health, education, income inequalities can be fitted into the answer. Right here, what needs to be done? Central focus on various social indicators is must. Steady economic growth gives more freedom and the necessary fiscal space for the government, because nowadays economy is growing at around 7%. This economic growth, that too it is steady and it gives more fiscal space for the government, and the government must use this opportunity to bring people out of poverty. And as per national health policy, government wants to increase the percentage of expenditure as percentage of GDP to 2.5% by 2025 from at present 1.15%, and that must be ensured, and to achieve that health expenditure must be increased by 20 to 25% every year during the next 8 years. Then subsidies for the rich people are there. At present, that is around $16 billion, and they must be phased out as per this editorial. Then the raise in revenues from all the sources must go towards public education of very high standards and accessibility to all. The biggest question is, what is the quality of education nowadays, and what is the quality of these public institutions? That is the biggest question. As promised, higher budgetary outlay for healthcare should match with the results. Then a conscious effort must be made to help traditionally backward regions. So, as I have already told you, please write what you know about health, education, income inequalities when you look at any question about HDI. Then further information: though India is the largest democracy in the world, it has not ratified UN conventions on torture, rights of migrant workers and their families, and protection against enforced disappearances, and India should look at these aspects as per this. Then there is this is a serious lacuna in the country which has a commitment to democracy and the rule of law. So, as per this, development is a multi-dimensional achievement, and gains of economic reforms must help build the capabilities and improve the health of all the sections. So, here basic challenges are this urbanization, housing deficit. Government wants to ensure housing for all by 2022. then access to power, water, education and healthcare. So, these are the challenges as per this editorial. Look at the next one, Russian connection. This is with regard to the election process of Donald Trump. During the elections to United States of America, Donald Trump and its actions with regard to Russian administration officials. So, what is the history of the case? I will spend just 1 minute on this, because this is not that important from your perspective. So, this is all where Donald Trump won, entire interior America voted for Donald Trump. Then history of the case is, I listed out 4 points. Now investigations are going on. This National Security Agency and Federal Bureau of Investigation, they are conducting inquiry, and 4 points I have given here. There were allegations that Russia was involved in the election process of United States of America. There were allegations that Russia was involved in the election process of USA. There were alleged links between the campaign of Donald Trump and unnamed parties associated with Russian government. So, there were allegations that there were links between campaign process of Donald Trump and unnamed parties associated with Russian government. Subsequent to the election, various tweets by Donald Trump are in fact eroding his credibility as per this editorial, and now several unsubstantiated and misleading tweets by Mr. Donald Trump during the past 2 months eroded his credibility. So, the crux of the matter is, there were allegations that Russia supported indirectly in the election of Donald Trump. Now, FBI as well as National Security Agency of America are investigating into these allegations, and recent tweets by Donald Trump is eroding his credibility, because there are several tweets with unsubstantiated facts. Right, let us leave this here. Way to get back on board. This is one important lead item today, and this is written by Suhasini Haidar. She is daughter of Subramania Swamy, and she is diplomatic affairs editor of the Hindu. And here the issue is with regard to China is going aggressively. China's rise cannot be stopped. Nowadays, Donald Trump actions are further facilitating China to make further inroads to get more political clout, because Donald Trump is saying make America again. He is against multilateralism, he is against free trade, he is for anti-immigration. So, in view of these walls or barriers being built by America, now China's clout may increase enormously in the near future. And if you look at India, India has gone much ahead with the United States of America during the past 15 days. India built up lot of strategic and diplomatic relations and defense relations with America during the past 15 years. Now China is going aggressively. Now America is building barriers after the arrival of Donald Trump. So, what will happen to India under these circumstances? So, a better compromise is, let China divert the alignment of CPEC, let China divert the alignment of CPEC bypassing the Pak occupied Kashmir, or you can say specifically Gilgit-Baltistan region. If China changes the alignment to avoid that, then India can join that. So, this is the crux of this matter. So, let me tell you once again in brief, India has gone much ahead with the United States of America during the past 15 years, but China's rise is quite evident. India cannot sit silent. Indian neighborhood, almost all the countries are going to join in One Belt One Road initiative, Under these circumstances, Donald Trump became the president of America. Now the relations with America we cannot say at this juncture, China's clout we cannot prevent. Under these circumstances, if India sits silently, then India will be the biggest loser. So the compromise is let China change the alignment of CPEC and India join CPEC or OBOR, right. Next, what is Silk Route? This quite frequently we are hearing about OBOR initiative. So here this is ancient network of trade routes, and for centuries it was central to cultural interaction through various regions connecting east and west. And in fact, the name was derived because the trade was carried out in silk. Silk and horses were traded along the route, and it starts from Xi'an in China. So, good olden days, if you go back almost 2000 years ago, this was the trade route where predominantly silk as well as not only silk, horses were also traded, and it started with the Han dynasty in China. Now, China is trying to reinvent it through the maritime route. It wants to connect Africa, at the same time through maritime route. It wants to go up to Europe, at the same time by road and train it wants to go to the other end of Europe. So, this is reinventing the old Silk Route, is known as One Belt One Road initiative of China. So, having learnt this, so this is reinventing the old route. You see, all the countries, almost all the countries surrounding India will become part of OBOR, and incidentally, I think in the month of May, China is conducting one conference. Several countries are attending on OBOR. Almost all of our neighbors are going to attend it, right. And further information, the founder of the old Silk Route was a diplomat warrior, and at the time itself, he stated that the most important route for China to do business is within India. So, India cannot be ignored. So, China and its aggressive actions, if you see this massive project of OBOR, it stretches 16 nations and population of 4.4 billion. Please remember, what is the world population? World population is just 7 billion. So, out of 7 billion, 4.4 billion people will be associated with this OBOR, and 60 countries will be associated. So, it touches around 60% of the population. How can India ignore it? As per the author, then power of Siberia pipeline, which costs $400 billion. This power of Siberia pipeline, this is from Russia to China, this is $400 billion pipeline. Then aggressive actions on South China Sea, all of us are well aware. And now Philippines, the aggrieved party, is also becoming a friend of China. Then who will prevent the actions of China on South China Sea, right. So, these are the aggressive actions of China, but India, China irritants, India, China, there are 5-6 irritants are there, and if you go by the author's suggestion, unless these irritants are removed, it is not that much easy to go along with China if China changes its alignment of this CPEC. So, please see, this passes through Pak occupied Kashmir. So, that is the biggest irritant for India. So, CPEC passes through POK region and China wants us to join CPEC. The second irritant is China's veto for declaring Masood Azhar as a terrorist by the United Nations. Third irritant is China's objection for the visit of Dalai Lama to Tawang. Tawang is the place in Arunachal Pradesh, and when Dalai Lama is going to visit Tawang, then China is raising objections. Similar objections were raised. In fact, the routes were blocked with Mongolia some time back. Next point is border issues towards western and eastern sectors, and China does not recognize McMahon line, and this is the total border with China. And if I am not wrong, Chinese border with India encompasses 5 states. These 5 states are Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh. Then issue of stapled visas for the people from Arunachal Pradesh. For the people from Arunachal Pradesh, China is issuing stapled visas. That means they do not recognize Arunachal Pradesh people as the citizens of India. So, these are main irritants. Next one is China wants India to not interfere in the aggressive actions of China in South China Sea. So, these are all the irritants. Then what about India and USA? We have gone much ahead with USA, starting with this defense framework agreement, defense technology and trade initiative, major defense partner, LEMO. So, one after the other during the past 15 years, specifically from Atal Bihari Vajpayee's time, we have gone much ahead, right. So, we have gone quite ahead in relations with USA. You cannot easily come back. There is nothing wrong in going ahead, but the biggest problem now is Donald Trump. We have gone much ahead, but Donald Trump became the president of United States of America. What are his initial actions? You see the initial actions. He do not believe in multilateral trade deals. He is against multilateralism. He is against immigration. America first policy, pulling out of TPP, decided to review NAFTA. NAFTA is the trade agreement between Mexico, USA and Canada. So, further aspects with regard to his pivot to Asia policy are not clear at this juncture. So, the biggest problem is all the neighboring countries are going towards China. We have gone towards USA, but USA president at present is unpredictable and volatile. So, what is the way left for India? So, the article seriously talks about this issue. So, what are the likely outcomes because of Donald Trump? Donald Trump's initial actions are not very clear, but what are the likely outcomes because of Donald Trump in the international arena? First one is, if USA decides not to build on its pivot to Asia or not bolstering its naval strength in the Indo-Pacific region, if United States of America decides not to build on its pivot to Asia policy, that means its relations now towards Asian region. So, pivot to Asia is strengthening strategic relations with the Asia Pacific region countries. Now, the wealth is going to be generated in Asia region, USA very much clear. So, USA logically shifted their focus from West Asia to Asian region, and here if USA decides that not to build on its pivot to Asia policy, then if it does not bolster its naval strength in Indo-Pacific region, then naturally this space will be filled by China. Then look at the second point. If United States of America decides to lower its interest in the reconciliation process of Afghanistan, then Russia and China may fill the space. Then our neighboring countries almost joined OBOR, Nepal is going to join soon, and 10 years down the line, the clout of China in our neighborhood will increase enormously, right. So, under these circumstances, what is the way out? The author suggests China has to make one compromise, subsequently India has to join it. What China has to do? China can redesign CPEC project, avoiding POK region. This may result in India joining it. Then India, leaving all the inhibitions or border issues, if the OBOR is redesigned to avoid POK region, can join this, provided it is redesigned to avoid POK region. So, this is what is being suggested by the author, and the biggest question is, are the compromises possible? Right. Let us leave this discussion here, and thought provoking article, because in the 21st century China's rise is inevitable. We have gone ahead in our foreign policy with the United States of America, and in future, if Donald Trump is unpredictable and if his actions are hurting our relations with the United States of America, then we should not keep quiet, because when we woke up, maybe after 5 years, 10 years, our neighbors will have lot of clout with China, which is not desirable for us, right. Look into the next one, breathing life into healthcare. This I am going to present as a separate capsule, National Health Policy 2017, but even then certain points please understand. This is as per the National Health Policy, the government expenditure, both center and states put together, will be increased from 1.15% at present to 2.5% of GDP by 2025. Then all the families will get health card. This health card will be there for all the families, and free drugs, diagnostics, emergency and essential services will be given to all as per this National Health Policy. Then time bound action plan for controlling these diseases, and 25% reduction in premature mortality because of this diabetes, cancer and cardiovascular diseases, and this is definitely difficult to ensure. Providing access to safe water and sanitation to all by 2020. This is the most difficult task, and another difficult task, mostly Herculean task, is reducing infant mortality rate from 41 to 28. These two are most difficult tasks, and this is possible if government makes all out efforts. Then focus on preventive and primary health care, and then out of pocket expenditure is throwing several people to poverty. So, government wants to reduce out of pocket expenditure by 25%. It is the welcome step. And the first time it mentioned that public hospitals and facilities will be periodically measured for its quality. The real challenge is this point, whether the public hospitals can be measured for its quality without any the possible issue of diluting it. Then challenge number 1, this is close coordination between center and states is the need of the hour. 2/3 of the healthcare expenditure is nominated for primary healthcare, and free drugs, diagnostics and emergency services are promised, and the biggest question is ensuring quality in public hospitals. The third one is secondary and tertiary health care will be provided by strengthening public hospitals and having linkages with private hospitals. But the biggest problem is, what is the guarantee that private sector will not exploit? Then the fourth important aspect is, 3 important aspects are proposed. One is National Healthcare Standards Organization to ensure the standard. Then second one is National Health Information Network, and the third one is National Digital Health Authority. So, establishing them is a good measure, because government wants to push for telemedicine also, and this National Digital Health Authority will be useful for pushing telemedicine project. But the biggest problem is, can the government break the nexus between corporate hospitals and diagnostics and pharmaceutical companies? Recently, government reduced or slashed the prices of stents which were being sold at 800%, 1000% higher, right. So, we will discuss all the aspects in the capsule, and there are several questions, and please go through them. Then remembering 1971, this is the last issue, I will spend 1 or 2 minutes on this. This is with regard to the Genocide Day. Bangladesh announced Genocide Day on 25th March, and here he is considered as founding leader of Bangladesh, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, who was assassinated, and his daughter is the present Prime Minister of Bangladesh. And what happened in 1971? Pakistan, that means at that time, in fact at that time both were, 1 minute, I will show you this Pakistan, and at that time this and this, both the regions were Pakistan, and this area at present Bangladesh is known as, at that time it was East Pakistan, that part is West Pakistan, both were of Pakistani region, but what happened in 1971, this Pakistani army launched Operation Searchlight in Dhaka, and Bangladesh was then known as East Pakistan, and in 1970 Pakistan establishment refused to hand over power to Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman won the elections in 1970. Suddenly on March 25, 1971, Pakistan army along with the local Jamaat-e-Islami unleashed violence, and in Dhaka University and the neighborhood around 7,000 people were killed, and subsequently Bangladesh declared a liberation war, and in the liberation war what happened, 3 million people were killed, millions were displaced, and finally with the help of India, Bangladesh got its independence on 16th December 1971. This is all about Bangladeshi liberation, and the day, that is March 25, when this Operation Searchlight was launched by the Pakistani army with the help of Jamaat-e-Islami, was declared now as a genocide day in Bangladesh. What is the meaning of genocide? Genocide is massacring the people on the basis of religion, race, caste. That is a genocide. So, this occurred in 1971, and now it may have repercussions for bilateral relations between Bangladesh and Pakistan. Right, friends, we had detailed discussion on the issues, and from April 1st I will separate both the issues. The first one, that is news for a while, as well as news discussion, otherwise it is going quite lengthy. So, from April 1st we will separate both, probably 15-20 minutes for the first part and half an hour or 35 minutes for the second part. So, have a nice day. Thank you.